Hello, welcome to episode 48. This week is a very special week for me and for my dogs. And many of you would have seen my post on Instagram, and that's where I want to start with this podcast episode. With a huge heartfelt thank you to all of you that messaged, that commented on the post about the anniversary of my dogs Ozzy and Moose. If you've listened along from the very start, you would know or might be familiar that October is the month that I lost my two gorgeous dogs, and I'm recording this on Wednesday, so yesterday was their anniversary, and it was an emotional day. And I think in particular this year was particularly emotional for me because what I would normally have done to celebrate their lives, to celebrate their memory, is go to their very favourite beach, and that's something I couldn't do. I have been quite unwell the last couple of weeks, and I was just not well enough to travel to the beach, and it is a couple of hours away, so really it was kind of upsetting because it's like a tradition, and I often have shared with all of you that like creating like a little something special to you that you do each year to remember, even if you don't tell anybody, it's something unique to you and the relationship that you had with your pet, and it's just like planning in a ritual or a tradition that is so special to you, and that is something that I have done without fail now. For the 4 previous years, I've gone to their favourite beach. So I think that was a kind of tough reality that I was going to push myself to go, but I wasn't feeling well enough, and that made me a little bit sad. But then I remembered that even though I've moved away from where I used to live with my dogs, I should really listen to my own advice when I say, or my own thoughts when I say, no matter where I live or no matter where I go, that they're with me. And I always feel that they are with me. But I think, I don't know what was different in my brain. But as the day went on, I did feel that, I don't have to go to that particular beach on their anniversary, that they are with me anywhere I go, even if it's a few hours away. And I think that that's what really gave me a realisation yesterday, that although I had created this tradition and this kind of ritual of going to their favourite spot on their anniversary each year, that it may not be possible, each year as the time goes by. And I think that what was lovely was Steve kind of approached me towards the end of the day in the evening and said, look, why don't we take a drive and go to a beach that's closer to us here where we're living in Cork. And I think that was just, I never thought of that. And I was well enough to travel a shorter distance, so that's exactly what we did, and we made it for sunset. And I think just being by the waves and just visualising them and their memory and actively just remembering the good times and the times that I really cherished with both of my dogs was something that I was able to kind of access. And it was just so lovely that my partner and a couple of my very close friends reached out to me yesterday, which was their anniversary, and that actually meant the world to me, because they're the closest people in my life. A simple text, a voice note, it just meant absolutely everything, and I can hardly describe how it meant. And then all of the comments that I received on my Instagram post were just absolutely incredible. I'm so grateful for anyone who wrote some kind words and who really sent me lots of love yesterday, and it really means the world to me. And it's just a reminder that if you're listening now, and whether you've lost a pet yourself or maybe someone in your life has lost a pet, it's really just to think that, no matter how many years go by and I'm at year 5, that it's worth so much to reach out to that person and put a few words in a text or in a voice note or a phone call, just to check in and see how they're doing, or just to let them know that you're thinking of them and sending love. And I think that is my main takeaway and gratitude from this year, from their anniversary this year, is that, and I do feel emotional talking about it right now, so I'm sorry if my voice is crackly a bit, but I think sometimes life can be very difficult, and sometimes living in this world can be very challenging. But then when you read such kind words and comments and so much love, it just makes me think there are kind people out there. There are people that get it. There are people that understand. There is a community of people that understand, that have been there, that have been through that pain. And I think, the anniversary is probably the toughest time with regards to the death of my dogs. I do think that is definitely the one day for me throughout the whole year. Ozzy's birthday is 31st of October, so he's a Halloween baby, and I think of him and I do something nice on that day, but I just definitely think the 22nd of October each year is a particularly hard time for me. And I have seen such progress with my emotions, with my feelings around that date as the years progress. And I'm never going to say time heals, because it doesn't. Like I kind of mentioned in my Instagram post, I have healed from the traumatic events surrounding their deaths, definitely, because I'm not triggered by a lot anymore surrounding those events, which is incredible. And I've worked so hard to get to that place, very, very hard, very intense emotional work, which I'm so proud of myself for doing, and which is something you can do if you're listening, if you are struggling with triggers surrounding your pet's death. But today, I am not feeling that heavy sadness like I was yesterday on their anniversary. I'm feeling immense love and joy and gratitude for my partner that arranged something special, for my friends that reached out with kind words and love, and for all of you listeners who have contacted me. It's just incredible. It really, really is. And I think that's such a powerful way to feel like people can see, can hear you, and they get it. And I think that is what I'm definitely holding on to today. And I am very emotional today, but I think that it's okay. It's okay to be emotional, and it's okay to feel that way. And I really, really missed both of my dogs yesterday, and in particular Ozzy, because obviously he had been in my life for nearly 9 years. Moose was in my life for 3 years, nearly 3 years, and I think I had such an incredible bond with Ozzy just two different relationships, like I've definitely said down through the episodes. And that's what makes it so special. It's obviously very difficult when you experience pet loss, multiple pet losses very, very close together. And I think that there can be those conflicting feelings of I'm feeling like I'm missing Ozzy more than Moose, and then maybe other days I might be thinking about Moose more, and it can be like an inner turmoil that you kind of go through. If anybody listening has lost multiple pets, like in close proximity to each other, it can be that way. And then there is that element of guilt that will come up. Like I should be missing them the exact same. But then I say to myself, why? Because the relationships weren't the exact same. No relationship in the entire world is the exact same. And I think it's okay that I miss Ozzy a huge amount, because I had built an incredible bond over many years with him. He was my best friend. You know, he was Mammy's boy. He was always my shadow by my side, and I think it's okay for me to feel that way. And I definitely feel that it's okay to have those days when maybe I don't think about Moose too much, but I'm thinking about Ozzy all the time. So I think if you've ever felt that kind of element of guilt, that you're thinking of one pet more than the other, or missing one pet more than the other, that's totally okay. It's normal. It's normal. And I want to validate that for you, because it happens to me. And I have done grief work, and I'm continuing to do it. I'm not a healed person. I'm always healing. I'm always trying to work on myself in many aspects of my life. And I think, I just think like there's nobody out there that should ever be saying I'm a complete version of myself. I've come out the other side. I don't suffer with grief anymore. I mean, you can experience grief for many reasons throughout your life, and I've experienced a lot of grief in the last 5 years of my life. The most grief I've ever experienced. Loss of my dogs, loss of relationships, loss of friendships, lots of loss. Job loss, all kinds of things. And even health loss recently. I've been unwell, but I am feeling I'm getting better. And I think that sometimes life just knocks you down. And I think it all kind of comes at once, for me anyway. I don't know about you listening, but I think that that's okay. And what goes down must come back up again, and it's just up and down like that wave of life, really. And that's the way I see it. I try to be super gentle on myself. I still suffer with anxiety, and like with stress in general. And I think that's okay, because I feel like there are lots of types of people in the world, but mostly the people that that are around my life, there are kind of two types mainly. One is like a real anxious type, and then the other type is a real like go with the flow type, and nothing stresses them out, which I would love to be that type, but I'll get there eventually. I'm definitely I have an anxious attachment style, if any of you have ever delved into attachment styles. I do a lot of kind of personal development and trying to and it's not just about my grief work. I try to do work in all aspects of my life, and I do think if any of you are kind of open to looking at that and doing some kind of self-help, personal development, it's hard work, but it's definitely it's definitely opened my eyes and helped me to navigate life's challenges a little bit easier than how I would have done prior to knowing a lot of stuff. So I feel like this episode is me rambling, and I hadn't really planned on a particular topic to speak about this week, but I think with the week that's in it, I would love to speak to anyone listening that has an anniversary coming up, really, of their pet, and if it's the first anniversary, or if it's the 7th anniversary, or the 15th anniversary, it doesn't matter. It's just to kind of gently ask you, are you going to mark the day in any particular way? Are you planning to do something special? Have you a tradition that you've done every year for your pet? Or could this be the year that you maybe start to do something, whether that's going to their favourite place, whether that is maybe planting like a flower or a tree or a plant in memory of your pet each year, or whether that's going on a hike, whether that's going on a solo trip, whether that's taking yourself to a spa to really treat yourself, to relax, to switch off, so that you can journal and remember about all of the amazing memories you shared with your pet, not just about the ending. It's just a gentle question to ask yourself, maybe something to journal on. If you're journaling, which I hope you are if you've listened to all of these episodes so far. But I think it's really important to celebrate the life of your pet on their anniversary, and to do something wonderful, to do something that fills your heart, to not just leave it as another day, and whether you can't do anything on that particular day, if it's a work day, or like to do it on the weekend, or to do it close enough to the anniversary of your pet's death. And I think that that's what's important. It's not to put pressure on yourself. It's not to kind of say, oh, I really must do something now because I really should. And that word should comes up, and I just think the word should equals pressure on yourself. For me anyway, in my brain, that's how it works. But even if you just, the word should is often said as a demand, or like putting pressure on yourself to do something you don't feel comfortable with. But if you feel that you would like to celebrate or memorialise your pet's death anniversary, then do. Think of something, whether that's something big, whether that's something small, whatever is unique to you. Maybe what I do each year seems kind of boring to other people. Maybe they want to go really big, and that's okay. Or maybe somebody just wants to have a bath and listen to a playlist that maybe reminds them of their pet, or listens to a podcast of their, like, one of their favourite podcasts. I don't know. It could be really anything. And I think that that's what makes it so unique. And then there could be like creative ways of memorialising your pet, and whether that's creating like a digital photo album, a scrapbook, anything. Whether you have some ashes of your pet, maybe it's going to scatter some ashes each year of your pet's anniversary, like scattering them in all the different places that they love to race around and run and jump and play and whatever that may be. But I think I've kind of exhausted a lot of the ideas, but I'm sure there is so much more. And I really feel that I would love to hear from you, the listeners. I would love to hear some of the things that you do to mark your pet's anniversary. And I think that today I will put up a question box on my Instagram page, and I will ask that very question, because I know many of you follow me on Instagram that are listening, and I will pop up a question box, and I would love to know, like, what one thing do you do or would you like to do to mark your pet's anniversary? So yeah, and I will share those anonymously with everybody then, once people have filled in what they'd love to do or what they do already do. And I think that that's something that would be really, really wonderful for others to read as well. That I've never delved into that question with many people in my circle, I think. And I really do feel that it's something that is important to share. And I know it can be super private to people and they don't have to share, and that's completely okay, because it can be super private and it can be something that only they know about, which is actually so special and precious in itself. But I do think it's a lovely question. But that's what I want to leave you with for this week's episode. And I think that whether you want to memorialise or mark or celebrate on the exact date of your pet's death, or whether you want to do that on the month or whenever is convenient for you without putting pressure on yourself, then maybe it will be a lovely thing to do each year. It really helps me to stay connected to both of my dogs. It really helps me to feel that no matter where I am and no matter where I live, that I can bring them with me to a beautiful place. And maybe if their spirits and energy are with me at this new wonderful place that I went to, this new beach I went to yesterday, that I had never been to before, and that they had never been to before, maybe their energy was exploring it with me, which is really, really, when I think about it and say it out loud, is actually really special. That maybe they get to experience a brand new environment just like me, and that we can feel connected together while we do that. So that's something that I will leave you with. The emotion is real today, but that's okay. I'm happy to share my emotion here with you on this podcast, which has always been my safe place to do so. I will try definitely show my face a little bit more on my social media, but this will always be my favourite place to connect with you all, to speak to you all. And of course, I will always love some feedback, or if you want to just send me an email of a topic that you'd love me to cover or talk about, I would always be grateful of those emails. My email is always in the bio and in the show notes of this podcast. So I would love to wish you a really restful weekend, or exciting weekend, whatever kind of weekend that you're feeling, and maybe just journal on some of the things that we spoke about here on this podcast this week. Thank you again for always following along and coming on this journey with me. I'm so grateful that you're here listening. From the bottom of my heart, take care.